welcome back to another video. So today in this video I'm going to be doing a question and answer. I had posted on my community tab here on YouTube as well as in my Facebook group, and I asked y'all if you had any questions you wanted to ask me, and so there were quite a few that came in. Some of them are more personal questions and some of them are coloring related. I am just going to sit here and color a page that I had already started in this book. It is this page here. I had already started this page and I used it actually for a tutorial, and I don't even remember what colors I used now. I guess maybe I should go back and look at that tutorial and see what I used on this page. But one of the reasons I wanted to do this video is because I don't usually get to just sit and color. I'm probably just gonna sit here with my coffee and play some music in the background and answer all of your questions so y'all can watch me color, and I will do a voiceover for all of the questions. If you enjoy this video, please make sure you give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. If you check the description box down below, you will find a link for my Facebook group if you would like to join us there and share all of your beautiful coloring pages, or even just join us to ask questions, get coloring advice. I will also have links down there for my Etsy store, my email list, and my Patreon if you would like to support me there. So let's go ahead and start coloring. The first question I have is from Janet Ross, and she wants to know, how do you color realistic skin? So to get the skin looking a little bit more realistic, I guess that would really be more of a tutorial. I know you could mean where to lay the colors and adding your shadows and all of that, and I do have tutorials on my channel for that, and I'll try to link one in the upper right hand corner of this video. But as far as making the skin look much smoother so that it looks more realistic, I will come back at the end and I will use my Caran d'Ache blender to blend all of the colors together so that everything just comes together and has that very smooth look. Now, when I was coloring the skin on this page, you'll see as I get further into the video, as I'm coloring, I did actually color the skin. So you will see when I get to that part of the video what I'm talking about, but I thought that the skin on this paper looked a little bit splotchy, and I am somebody who likes to just come back and layer and layer and layer. And of course, this paper doesn't have a whole lot of tooth, so you really don't have the ability to do that. So for this one, I just went ahead and laid all of the colors exactly where I wanted to lay them. And then I came back with my blender pencil, and you don't have to use a Caran d'Ache blender. You can use your Prismacolor blender or whatever other one you have. I heard that the Derwent one was really fantastic, but I don't have that one. And I really love my Caran d'Ache blender, so that is the one that I used. But when I was all done and all the colors were laid down on the page, I just came back and I blended everything together with the Caran d'Ache blender, and it really helped to bring everything together and make it look much, much smoother. And I feel like that made it look much more realistic. Next question comes from Deborah Pugh. I hope I'm pronouncing your last name right. If I'm not, I apologize. And she asks, as a newbie colorist, some of the first YouTube videos that I watched were yours and very helpful, thank you. But some of my favorite videos across the board that I watch now are when YouTubers post their finished pages. I never see you do that, and I wonder why, or if you would start doing so. So, this question, I really wanted to come back and answer this one when I saw it. Thank you for asking this question, but most of you know that my channel is specifically a tutorial channel. Yes, I've done a few color alongs, and I'll do those every once in a while. I've done some where they've been organized all through my Facebook group, and then I have posted tutorials all the way through from the very beginning of the coloring page all the way to the end of the coloring page, all full and complete with tutorials. And so those pages always end up getting finished. But because my channel has very much turned into a tutorial channel, I do a whole lot of tutorials and like individual coloring of like a flower or leaves, and that is what is requested by most people that are watching my channel. And the moderators in my Facebook group, they have done quite a few color alongs. They're actually doing one right now where it is a monochromatic color along. And so there are a lot of people participating in that. If you want to be part of one of the color alongs in my Facebook group, just make sure that you are a member over there and you can join any one of those. We've done quite a few of them this year. But as far as my YouTube channel goes, I'm spending a lot of time coming up with ideas for videos, recording those videos, and just trying to come up with the ideas for the tutorials. It takes me quite a long time to film the tutorials because I am trying to teach at the same time, and so I have to talk all through the way, trying to show everybody in detail exactly what I'm doing as I'm coloring and explain what I'm doing and sharing the colors I'm using and all of that. For all of you that are watching, you are just coloring right along with me. But for me, I have to go back and I have to edit that video. I'm sure a lot of people that are coloring along with my videos don't really understand what goes into the editing process as well, because I go through and I have to edit all that footage. And a lot of the times, the tutorial to you looks like it's maybe 30 to 40 minutes long. But for me, having filmed it, it actually sometimes takes an hour to an hour and a half. And then I still have to go back and I have to edit that video. And the editing process a lot of times takes another couple hours, depending upon the video. Maybe a couple hours to edit that video and get it rendered. Then I still have to upload it to YouTube, and it's just a very long process. So on one day, I will generally set aside a few hours to film, and then the next day I will set aside a few hours to come back and edit that video and get it uploaded to YouTube and make the thumbnail and all of those things. So quite a few hours go into just the creation of that one video. And so because I'm on YouTube and I'm filming a lot of YouTube videos, unless I'm doing a color along or something, those are the pages that I've done. And so those are the pages that y'all have already seen. So really there's not any sense in me going back and showing my finished pages, because aside from doing YouTube and the time that I take out to spend with family, which is very, very important for me, I don't really get a whole lot of time to color. And so that is one of the reasons why I'm doing this video, because this video actually gave me time to sit and color, and I'm hoping to be able to finish this page, and I can't wait to see what it looks like when it is all completed. The next question is from Robert Brown, and he says, what do you recommend as a gift set for family members to get them interested in colored pencils? I want a decent quality so that they can learn to blend, and bigger than those 12 pencil sets. I will always recommend getting the 120 set of square Brutfuner pencils. They blend beautifully. There are some beautiful, really unique colors in that set, and I just absolutely love them. I think it's a great starter set, and most times you can get that set for right around $24 if you catch them on a sale. I know very recently those pencils have been right around $24, and they go on sale quite often. So if you want a starter set, or even if you're buying a set for your children and you want them to just be so excited about getting a whole big, huge set of colored pencils, I would go with the 120 set of square Brutfuners. I just really, really love those. The next question is from Lisa Miller, and she says, anything you could touch on involving shading would be great. Good shading makes a coloring piece look incredible. Now, this is more of a tutorial, and I've done tutorials on shading, and I actually have a video coming where I focused specifically on shading so you could see the difference between what an object looks like when you're just using two colors as opposed to coming back and adding that last color to show you what a big, huge difference it makes when you add that darkest color. It just gives the objects on your coloring page so much more depth and dimension. So if you're watching this video right now and you're watching me color, you could see that I pulled out a fine liner to color those leaves. And I actually did a video, a full tutorial on how I did that with those leaves. But instead of even using a darkest color in your colored pencil set, that is a little tip or trick to use if you just want to add some extra dimension and depth to the objects on your coloring page. And I'll link that tutorial up in the upper right hand corner. But I do have another tutorial using just colored pencils coming very soon, and there are plenty of other videos on shading on my YouTube channel, and I'll try to link some of those in the description box below. Angela Brown says, how do you decide on color family and the order to put each color in? Now, I've done quite a few videos for y'all where I have put certain colored pencil sets into color family order, and I'm sure most of you have seen those. But in the last few, I do show you exactly how I put those pencils into color family order. But I usually just take all of the pencils and first I separate them into color family. So I'll put all of the greens together, all of the blues together, all of the reds together, all of the yellows together, and then I will take each color family separately and I will try to match up just by looking at the barrels or the tips of the pencils. If it's a budget set, usually I'll be looking at the tips of the pencil or what the color looks like on the lead of the pencil, and I will put all of those together according to undertone first. Then I will come back and I will put each one of those together from lightest to darkest, and that's how I've been doing it most recently. I will try to link the video in the upper right hand corner where I explained this much more in detail and actually showed you. But then I will come back and I'll grab a piece of Spring Hill paper and I will swatch out each one of those colors, so then I know exactly how to lay them down on the swatch chart. A lot of times, especially with a budget set, once I swatch out the colors, I will discover that they go in a completely different order. So it's basically a lot of swatching and re-swatching and coming back and swatching again and testing out the colors, and then I'll even lay them all out after I get everything together on my swatch chart. And even after I do that initial time where I lay them all out on my swatch chart, I will use my pen to come back and just put arrows, change things around and say, okay, well, this needs to go over here, this needs to be changed over here, and I will make all of those changes, and then I come back with a final swatch chart. But it is usually a pretty long process. The next question is from Christina Snowden. She says, when coloring a page using luminance, how do we use less of the pencils? I've done 4 pages with those pencils and they are less than half their size. Not breaking or anything like that, just the use. Ha ha ha. At $240, those things are expensive. I agree. Serious question though, how are you and others able to do such beautiful hair on coloring pages without having to stick to just polychromos? I have kept a sharp tip and tried, but unless it's polychromos, no bueno. Not even the light fast or other oil-based pencils. I am struggling here. Okay, so let's start at the beginning where she asked me about the luminance pencils. And I have found the same thing with the luminance pencils. They do disappear quite quickly. And I am not really a heavy-handed colorist anymore. It's taken a lot of practice not to be a heavy-handed colorist, but I find that my luminance disappear very quickly, so I do agree, and I don't think that there is any getting around to that at all, because I think that's just the nature of the pencil, and I agree they are very expensive. So as far as hair goes, I do have lots of tutorials on hair. If you just go back and search my channel, I always use Prismacolors, and the Prismacolors are probably more difficult to be able to do hair with. I would agree. The Polychromos are a much harder pencil. I've done hair with Polychromos before, just not in a tutorial on my channel. Any of the tutorials on my channel and where I've done hair, they are all with Prismacolors, and they are more difficult because it is a little bit more difficult to make those very fine strokes. So maybe I will have to do a Polychromos hair tutorial. Let me know if y'all would like to see that. But when you're coloring hair, you're basically just doing a bunch of fine strokes with the pencil. And I find with my Prismacolors, I do have to sharpen them very often. And you definitely cannot use a heavy hand, and you just need to continue to turn the pencil when you're using something like a Prismacolor or a pencil that is softer, such as the Luminance. The next question is from Renee Paterno. She says, "Hi Pamela, I'd like to know how you keep the page you're coloring clean. My page or paper gets some little smudges on it from the pencils. I wear an artist glove so I'm not smearing it. I always brush away any pencil dust right away, and I even use a piece of wax paper to protect my page when I'm not coloring, and sometimes use it while coloring, but it still gets little smudges on my paper and it doesn't erase so well sometimes. When I use Prismas, I get more smudges than any other pencil." I agree, and I don't have one of those artist gloves, but I do generally most of the time try to keep. I just bought a little brush in a store where I got it for just $1. I actually picked it up when I did a shop with me on my channel. I can't even remember what the name of the store was right now. I think it was called Pop something or other. But I would just grab yourself a little brush. You said that you already keep a brush, but for those of you that are watching this that have the same issue, that is really all you can do. And I guess you just have to be more consistent about going ahead and brushing it off every time as you're coloring. Now, if y'all watched the color along that I just recently did, where I colored the page by Mariola Budek, I believe it was Yasmin, that page I was so upset because I did actually get a few little specks from my Prismacolors in the background, and they were difficult to remove. But I do have an eraser that works much better now, and I've shown it in a couple of my videos. I think General is the company or the manufacturer, and it says Fractice on it. I will link that in the description box below so that you can go check that out, but it's on Amazon for very, very cheap, and that may help you to get some of the marks off of your pages. But I don't really think there is a way other than just making sure you're more consistent with brushing everything off or even using your artist glove. And I don't know, the Prismacolors, they just really tend to be kind of crummy. That's the only word I could think of. Dusty, I guess that's maybe a better word. But the Prismacolors, the wax from them, the colored wax does actually get on the background of your coloring pages. And if you're using a paper like the Spring Hail paper, where it's much toothier, or a colored pencil, a paper that's made for colored pencils, I find that I do have more of an issue with paper like that rather than I do in the coloring books for some reason, because that tooth just really grabs on to that wax that's coming out of the pencil. Question is from Christine Bader Debrecht, and she says, "I would love to know more about you. Do you have an art background? What did you do before you homeschooled your kids? And how long have you been married? I'm nosy." That's okay. Anyways, let's start at the beginning. She wants to know if I have an art background, and so the answer to that is no, not really. I really believe that most artists are self-taught. I've always been able to just pick something up when it is something that has to do with creativity, and coloring is creative, as well as making these YouTube videos, the filming, the editing, and all of the things that go into it, coming up with all of the ideas. All of those things are kind of just of the creative nature. And you asked about homeschooling. So yeah, I've homeschooled my kids for years. I still have one that is in the college program and still homeschooled right now. And so he is my last one and I will finally be done. That is the only reason I was able to actually have a YouTube channel. Because before this, my life was very, very busy. Not to say that it's not busy now. It's very, very busy now, just in a very different way. This year was year number 19 of me homeschooling my kids. And I am getting my very last one graduated. He's already done with high school, but he is in the college program. But in that college program, you're still considered a high school. So he's in the process of finishing that up now. And he will be 18 here in a couple weeks. So he's doing really, really well. And when I was homeschooling my kids, I always had to teach them art too. Of course, I followed a curriculum, but I did learn a whole lot of things right along with my kids. But there are so many artists that are self-taught and are able to just sit down and draw something or use colored pencils. And really, all it takes is a lot of practice. And I've been working with colored pencils for probably 6 years now, I think. And if I go back and I look at some of my work from before, the way my coloring has progressed, to me, when I look at it, I'm just absolutely amazed. But I've actually learned a whole lot since starting a YouTube channel. I never thought that my channel would turn into a tutorial type of channel, but it's what I really, really love doing. And so a lot of the videos that I bring to you all, I do sit down and I practice first and I make sure my techniques are perfected and everything else before I bring them to a video. Some of the things that y'all see in videos, like for instance, the cloud background that I created with the Derwent ink tints on the last color along we did, the Rachel Mintz color along. I had never ever done that before. I just sat down and I think it took 3 tries or so and I was able to perfect it. So I did it the first time and I just sort of looked at it and said, you know, this needs to be changed and that needs to be changed and I need to do this differently. So then I gave it another go and it looked a little bit better. It still was not the way I want it to look because I am a bit of a perfectionist. That can be a good quality and it's not always a good quality because sometimes I always expect way too much out of myself. But by the time I got to the 3rd time, it looked wonderful and I really loved it. And then I sat down and I did it on my original coloring page. So for those of you that are always hesitant to do a background on your coloring pages because you're afraid you're going to ruin them, I just want you to know that I do sit down and I practice and I learn things before I bring them to my coloring page. I practice over and over again sometimes because I too feel the same way and I don't want to ruin my coloring page either. So she also wanted to know what I did before I homeschooled my kids. Now that was years ago because like I said, I've been homeschooling for almost 20 years now. But before I homeschooled my kids, I was a paralegal and I lived in Florida. And so I was the paralegal for just one attorney. And I really can't say that I really enjoyed it so much. Because honestly, I felt like more of a babysitter. I mean, it was a very difficult, very stressful job, but you literally have to do everything for the attorney because they are so busy. And if they miss an appointment, it is your fault, not theirs. So yeah, that was years ago though. I was in my early 20s when I was a paralegal. And that sort of takes me back to what I was saying earlier about how everything I've done was always self-taught because I was a paralegal, but I never went to college or anything like that. I never went to any type of school that taught me how to be a paralegal. I just always picked up things and then I would go to the next job and I would teach myself whatever it was that I needed to know. And I just picked things up very easily when it came to things like that. And at every job, as I continued to just move up and go to a better job, I just learned different skills as I moved forward. And I was actually doing pretty well for myself in my very early 20s. I was doing that from the time I was 19 years old until about 27 when I got pregnant with my second daughter and brought my first daughter home to homeschool her. And that is right about when I met my husband. But I've been married for 19 years. And today, when y'all are seeing this video, this is actually my 19th wedding anniversary. And then Jane Treese, she asked, do you do any in-person classes? And no, I don't do any in-person coloring classes, but I do all of my classes online or virtually, and I either use FaceTime or Zoom, depending on where in the world the other person is located. Kelsey Cobb says, I'd love to hear about your favorite channels. I was going to ask about your favorite supplies, books, etc., but I figure I better just keep working my way through your videos to know those things. Yes, I definitely have several videos where I talk about my favorite coloring books and supplies. And so if you just do a search on my channel, you'll be able to find those. But I actually don't have a whole lot of time to sit around and watch YouTube. And when I do watch YouTube, the videos that I watch, they honestly don't have a whole lot to do with coloring, and they're not really necessarily coloring channels. But I do want to mention the one colorist that I watch when I have the time is Zucchini Kitty. Her videos are wonderful. She just has such a soft, calming tone in her voice. I love listening to her, and I love watching her color. I don't know, I guess like sometimes you just have those YouTubers that you can watch and they color, and it's just so relaxing watching all of the colors come together on the page. But let me tell you, if you want Distress Ink videos and you want to see somebody who just creates absolute magic with Distress Ink, Zucchini Kitty is the one to be watching. She just picks up those distress inks and she just creates absolute magic with those. And she does the same thing with colored pencils. And a lot of times she'll use her colored pencils right along with her distress inks. And I just really love her channel. But when I have time, that's what I'll watch. I do watch a lot of the very big art channels, and I do spend some time watching those when they put videos out. The one channel that I do very often watch is Super Ray Dizzle. I love her videos. Love her videos. But she is the main one that I watch, and she's the only one that really comes to mind right now. And the other videos that I do watch are Sarah Renee Clark. I love Sarah Renee Clark's videos, and I also love Lindsay the Frugal Crafter. And the other thing I watch a lot of on YouTube are a lot of fitness people. I've been following a lot of those types of YouTube videos for a very long time, because about 10 years ago, I dropped about 170 pounds. It was one of the biggest accomplishments in my life because I had spent my entire life being obese. And so I was really just excited about what I had accomplished. So after that, I went on to get my certification for a personal trainer as well as a health coach, and I really focus on my health coaching, and I have been coaching women for the last, I think, 8 years now. And it just brings me so much joy every single time I work with someone and I see them make those same changes and change their lifestyle. And my health coaching business is what I was doing and am still doing right along with this coloring thing that I'm doing right now. But I was doing this and had that business long before I started this coloring thing. And so now I'm doing both. And so it does tend to get very busy. I have certain clients that I coach, and then I have weight loss challenges that I run every single month. And then I still have to keep up with this and coming up with the ideas for videos, creating the videos and doing all of the filming and everything else. And so when I tell you that I don't really have a whole lot of time to just sit down and color, that is why. Because when I do get free time, I take that time out and focus on family, my husband and my children and my grandkids. And no matter what I'm doing in a day, I always make sure that I get out every single day, if not every single day, because I get too busy, then every other day to at least to go to my daughter's house and spend time with her and my grandkids. Sophia Goffer said, I would love to know how you decide which colored pencil set to use for which page or book. Like which pencils do well for which paper types. Sometimes I stare at a page and I'm confused as to which pencils to use. And then somebody else had commented on hers and said that it would be great if there was a chart that was done as an easy reference. And that's a really great idea. I'll have to think about doing that. But I would take one of your pages from the book that's maybe a blank page in that book, and I would test out a couple of the pencils. And in a lot of my books, there's a lot of pages that I wouldn't necessarily color, but I'll use them as a tester page to test out different pencils. And that's usually how I determine which pencils work best in which books. And I have also in videos talked about which pencils work best in each book. And I do a lot of that when I do my massive coloring book haul, flip through and review series. So in a lot of those videos, you will hear me mention exactly which pencils work best in which books. Megan Marks asks, what is your favorite thing to color? People, flowers, animals, landscapes, realistic, fantasy, mandalas, etc. I would definitely have to say flowers and people. Those are my absolute favorite things to color. And sometimes if I'm in the mood, I will color something that is very fantasy-like mermaids or witches or something like that. Jackie Martini McCauley asked, how do you get the 3D effect? I actually have videos on that. I have a video I did where I showed you how to make a flower look very, very 3D with lots of depth and dimension. I will link that video down in the description box below. That has actually been one of the more popular videos on my channel, but I know everybody doesn't see every single video that I post, so I will make sure that that is linked down in the description. Laura Tubins says, how do you color so fast? It seems like it takes me so many hours to get a page done. Are there any tips for doing it quicker? Laura, I have absolutely no tips for doing it faster because I am a very slow colorist, and slow is better than fast. You're supposed to be enjoying yourself, and I like to just take my time when I color. A lot of the tutorials, like I said earlier in this video, when you see them, you may be seeing a video that is 30 minutes long, but that video usually took me a lot longer to actually film. Sometimes I'm sitting behind the camera for an hour and a half, sometimes even longer, depending on what the video is. So I'm definitely not coloring a whole page in most of those videos, and the color along videos that you see that are separated into several different videos, lots of hours went into that. Next question comes from Jacqueline Kaulenko. I enjoyed reading about your life and homeschooling your children. When my children were in school, I didn't know anyone who did homeschooling. I think it's a wonderful thing to do, especially these days. My question is, how many children and grandchildren do you have? You seem to get so many things accomplished. Thank you for helping us learn how to color better. Aw, you're welcome. I love doing what I do. As for how many children and grandchildren I have 4 children. I have 2 daughters and 2 sons. My daughters are, one is going to be 29, one is 19, and then I have 2 sons. One will be 18 in a couple weeks, and the other one just turned 15. And then I have 4 grandchildren, and they are 10, 8, 5, and then a year and a half. Brenda Cloud says, I'm rather new here, so maybe I missed it. I would love to know about the transformation in your profile picture. If that's too personal, forgive me. I have put on extra weight because of meds, illness, and if I'm honest, my love of good food. I think everybody loves good food. Good food and coffee. Oh, thank you, Brenda. So anyways, I did touch on this a little bit in the previous part of the video. So there's really not much else to tell, but I lost 170 pounds and I used to be right around, I think like 330 pounds or so. And I have pretty much lost an entire person. And it was just a really huge accomplishment for me. And now I run a health coaching business and I do all of that online. And it's been wonderful over the last few years, especially now that my husband has cancer. And so I need to be home for him and I need to be home for my kids. So being able to have that business and doing the things that I'm doing from home, it has been an absolute blessing because I've been able to stay home and I was still homeschooling my children at the time when I started that. So it gave me a way to be able to stay home and homeschool my children for a lot of those years. And it was a blessing when I found out my husband had cancer because I am able to stay home and be here with him and also be here for my children. And I don't have a demanding job that takes me out and I have to be away from everybody. I get to set all my own hours, and I really love that I've been able to turn something that was a huge accomplishment for me into something that has brought even more positive into my life by providing my family with an extra income when we needed it the most. And then Lisa Hellstrom said, how many kids do you have? I just answered that. And how was it homeschooling your kids? And did they like to be homeschooled? And did it drive you nuts? Honestly, at times it did drive me nuts. And it's very easy to get overwhelmed. And there were a lot of years where I just wanted to give up because I had enough. I mean, I did it for a lot of years though. Like I said, almost 20, and I'm still finishing up with one. But at this point, all I need to handle for him is his transcript. So it's pretty easy as far as that goes now. And that's how I'm able to do all of this coloring thing that I'm doing now, as well as my health coaching business, and continue to do the things that I need to do and still be able to have one homeschooled child. And my other son has decided to go to school, and he's actually been in a really great charter school for the past couple years now, and he really, really loves it there. So after this one is graduated and I'm done with him, I won't be homeschooling anymore. And then Cheryl Nodell Ryle, I think is how you say her last name. I think I heard you say you do not have an art background. Yes, I talked about that in the beginning of this video as well. So how on earth have you gotten so amazing at coloring, and how did you learn and figure all this out? So I talked about that in the beginning of the video, and like I said, I don't know, I'm more of a creative person, and so I sort of just pick these things up. It comes easy for me, just like somebody who does math. It comes easy for them. I very much dislike math. I can do it, and I had to teach it to my kids, but I really could totally do without it because it is harder for me to learn. But something like, or anything that is creative, is very easy for me to pick up on and learn. And I've done a lot of practicing. If there's something I want to learn, I just always put my everything into learning whatever that is and try to get better at it. And if it's by practicing, then that's what I do. Hope y'all enjoyed this question and answer video. I was able to answer quite a few of the questions, but I still have a whole lot of questions left that y'all had asked me. If you would like to see another video like this, please let me know. But this video took a lot of time to edit. and put together because I spent all of the time coloring and recording myself. And then I went back and I did a voiceover for everything. And it took a whole lot of time. I was editing this video for probably 6 hours. So if I do another one, it's probably going to be in a different format, and I'm probably just going to color as I answer questions. So if you have any additional questions, please leave those in the comments down below, and I will get to your questions as well as all of the questions that I also had on my YouTube channel community page. If you check the description box down below, everything that I mentioned in this video or any of the videos that I said I would link for you, all of that is going to be down there, either that or in the upper right-hand corner so that you could easily find it. And I hope you all have a wonderful day. I'll see you in the next video. Happy coloring. Bye.